Welcome back, everyone.
Hey,
Day four. Let's go. Day
day
four.
four.
Fired up. The motivational quotes were sweet. My phone was getting blasted yesterday, which was really cool to see. That was fun to watch and just be able to throw them up there, shout you out if I had your handle. If I didn't have your handle, I'm sorry. But I didn't have it. So
Change your number.
that's my bad. But it was a lot of fun just to see the different things that hit home for you guys, the different things that has truly stuck with you throughout the day, throughout the sessions. And we've been getting a lot of feedback of some of the athletes in here saying we're mad when it's over. That's only an hour. So maybe we got to change it to like a 3-hour process and just say, hey, instead of school for 3 hours, you can come to baseball school for 3 hours. I'm really excited just to get into today about like maximizing our self-image, and just to kind of simplify those terms is like, how do we see ourselves and who do we see ourselves as are the two biggest questions that we can ask ourselves today. So if you have notes, write down, how do I see myself, and how can we see ourselves in a powerful position more often than not? Like my best version, like, or instead of that, simplify. What is my best version, right? Like what is my best version? Very simple. What that means is just, who am I when I'm at my best, right? If we were to do a workshop here where it was taking you guys through something, we draw the line in the middle of the page and we would put all the powerful emotions on top, like focus or love or gratitude or energy or confidence at the top. And then on the bottom under the line would be all the negative emotions like fear or sadness or anger or shame or comparison, comparing myself to my friends. That would be under the line. And we would compare over the line, under the line, which ones are more powerful, right? The truth of the story is they're both powerful, but they all affect our self-image and who we are as a person, who we are as an athlete. And as you know, there's way more to the game, or sorry, way more to life than just the game. Like I think I've mentioned in here, like one of my mentors said, you had a name before the game, and it just stuck with me forever. And it's really something that's been powerful that I've lived by ever since. That the game of baseball, the game of softball, whatever sport you play in here, it does not define who you are. You're more than the actual game. So that's what we're going to get into today. Super excited about it. If you have any questions, throw them in the chat, text them to us, or bring them up, whatever, message them to me directly. I'm going to bang the chat here for a minute. So it's just host only, because some people who just blow the chat up and probably aren't paying much attention. So I want to make sure that you at least get some of this out of there. And then towards the end, I'm going to open it up and you can throw stuff in there. We can share with each other again. I think that's important for us to be able to share with each other and different mindsets, things that maybe work for us. Some of us older athletes in here, same thing. If you have something that you want to share, send it to me privately. I'll share it with the group. Anybody in here, please feel free to do so. So maximizing our self-image, right? Like what does that actually mean, right? And that's, I think the biggest key today is what we're going to find out is how do we do this to bring consistent results to our game? Like how does our self-image, how does who we say we are correlate and directly enhance our performance? Well, here's one example. I go up to the plate and I don't have an identity at the plate. We talked about it earlier in the week. I don't know if I'm a power hitter, if I'm a base hit hitter. My coach tells me to protect with 2 strikes, but my other coach and my parents are telling me to try and hit bombs all the time. Well, I don't really have a clear image of who I am, right? It just goes back to accepting our roles and who we are on the field and what is our role. Am I the best base runner? Am I the best defender? Am I in the lineup to drive in runs in the big donkey in the middle of the lineup? Or do I just slap the ball and just get on base? What is my role, and how do I accept that with full certainty, with full belief that I'm going to do it to the best of my abilities? So getting to our roles, how do we maximize that? Well, I think it starts with a firm belief in ourselves. If you don't believe in yourself, you can't see where you want to go. So if we don't believe in ourselves, we're not going to do our role to the best of our abilities. We're not going to be the best that we can possibly become. That's the biggest thing that I want you guys to get out of that is how do we believe in ourselves? Whether you're 8, 9, 10, you're 15, 16, 17, 18, no matter what age you are, there's a belief in ourselves that needs to take place. We've got to be able to believe in ourselves. Even with some of us coaches in here, we're not able to give you the best knowledge and the best wisdom and the best tools that we've learned. And not just, this isn't just us speaking, right? We're speaking through other people who have spoken to us over the years and some mentors of ours, some really good coaches. We're not able to do that if we don't believe in ourselves and if we don't believe that that is real and that it's going to work. So for you as an athlete, when you approach the field every single day, it's very important for you to believe in yourself everywhere you go, whether you fail or not. We talked to somebody, I think Ronnie said fail forward, or maybe Adam, like don't be afraid to fail forward. What that means is don't be afraid to fail at all. Like we want to encourage failure in practice, encourage failure even in the games, because we can evaluate that and we can learn from that. So that's just my little brief introduction to how to maximize your self-image, just to lay the groundwork a little bit about our identity, about who we say we are, and what our focus is as an athlete on the field and off the field. And it directly correlates to the classroom too. Because if we're in the classroom and we're not paying attention, if we're on this Zoom call and we're laying down and we're not actually paying attention, we're not getting anything out of it. You see it with college athletes too. I work with a guy and he works with a ton of programs, and he's got college athletes hoodie on, slouch back. Do you really think you're paying attention with no notepad? So just making sure that when we're even in here, maximizing your self-image. There was a kid who, and I tweeted this yesterday, but there's a kid on Instagram that I know. He lives right down the road from me. He's in college. He goes to the University of Las Vegas, so UNLV. And him and 3 of his buddies thought it'd be cool to post a picture on Instagram, and one of them's flipping off the camera. Like, when was that ever a good idea? When was the self-image ever a good idea? Okay, I want to get to pro ball. I want to get to college, but I'm going to throw the middle finger up in a picture on social media. Like, this is where I think the self-image really comes into play, is what are we portraying on social media? Like, what story are we telling to people who come and follow us? Because one of us maybe has a connection to get them there. Maybe we really like the person, but after we see that, that reflects on us as people. So if we encourage them to sign him, say I wanted the Dodger scout in here to come sign that guy, right, to sign him. And then he goes on his page and sees a picture of him flipping somebody off because it's public for everyone to see. Do you think he's going to sign him? Probably not. We don't need that guy in our program. There's thousands of other athletes that we can take. So understanding everything you do, people are watching. On the field and off the field, people are watching you. Your teammates are watching you. Your teachers are watching you. Your parents and coaches are watching you. How are we handling ourselves? I don't say that to put more pressure on you, but I just say that to make you aware that, hey, people are watching. And if you want to get to the next level, how are you handling yourself through all situations, good and bad, failure and success? It's very, very important. So without continuing on that rant there for a minute, I just want to lay that groundwork for you guys. But Jake, feel free to hop in. And I know you put together a really good presentation on all of this with what you do with your athletes. So what's kind of your take on this aspect of the game?
Yeah, I think to start, you have to figure out and kind of flip the script on a dependent and independent variable. Okay, so if you're in a science class, when we talk independent and dependent variable, the independent is what you control, right? And the dependent is what comes from what you're controlling from that independent. Okay, most of us live in a way to where our self-image is dependent on our performance, right? So you feel better about yourself when you perform well. You feel worse about yourself when you perform poorly. But when we live that way, we ride or die based on the results that we have. So it's impossible to consistently improve and consistently find the results that we want if we're living and dying emotionally on every single play or every single outcome, right? We want players that play with emotion, but not emotional players, right? There's a difference, because if you play with emotion, that's passion, that's energy that you're showing. But when you play emotionally, then you allow your emotions to take hold of who you are and how you play and how you act, right? So we want to make sure that our self-image is our independent variable, because no matter how we play or what we do, we're the same kid, same person. So that has to be independent of any success. Okay, when we do that, success will come more consistently to us. Okay, the other thing I'll say is it is impossible to outperform your self-image. So if you don't believe that you're very good, then you're not going to play very good, right? I have a couple players that skill-wise, they're very average, but they play at an extremely high level because they're stupid enough to think that they're that good. And sometimes that's helpful to like think that you're better than you are, because then you play better too, right? So there's this theory that scientists have studied. It's called cognitive dissonance. And basically what it means in layman's terms is you physically and skill-wise, you can perform at let's call it a 1 to 10 scale at a 10. But if you believe that you're a level 3, then you're not going to consistently perform at the 10, because as soon as one thing goes wrong, your brain will remind your body like, oh man, I'm not really that good. So I can't continue to do that. So our goal is to increase your mindset to match your physical play level. So if you're a 6 physical play level, but you're only a 3 mentally, then you're going to perform in between there, right? So if we're a 6 physically and we can be an 8 mentally, then we're going to consistently increase our performance because your belief system is higher. So this all breaks down into a belief system in yourself, how you play, how you practice, what your process and routine is. So that way the results that you had, we've all had a good game, but we want to have a good season, a good career, and a good life. So this is all stuff that's going to help you figure out how to increase the consistency level. It's not going to say that you're going to have the best game of your career just because you have a great self-image, but your consistency will vastly increase if you're able to maximize these things.
Absolutely. And I love it.
We're here and
Jillian, did you just meet?
we're really trying to
I know that's not your name. I think it's Ray or
Matthew.
Matthew. Okay.
think
Yeah.
that
Matthew,
Brendan-
can you just reach your mic for us, please? I appreciate it. But just for maximizing that, Jake, I like the way of the independent and dependent variables, like what's in our control and what's not in our control. Like, are we dependent on the weather when it's snowing out there in Buffalo and we can't get our work in? Are we dependent on the sunshine here in Arizona that now I feel good because the sun's out, guns out, or is it raining and I just want to cash in the towel, right? So I think it's a big thing to think about, guys. It's just doing that. And I think Andrew was mentioned to me in here in the chat. He said it's okay to play emotionally, but you got to let it fuel you, not control you.
Yep.
That's pretty solid right there. Like, I think that's a big point. Like, hey, you can use your emotions to your advantage, right?
Absolutely.
Say be emotionless, but use them to your advantage. Don't let them control you. Ronnie, what do you got for me?
Yeah, so I talk about this a lot with the high school guys, and we talked about this a lot with the college guys when I used to coach in college. And you can only control yourself, but you're in an internal battle with yourself. You're not trying to fight with anybody else that's on your team. And once it's an individual game that we play as a team. And so when you start to control the things that you can control and work on the things that you can do, then that's whenever you see better results from yourself. So it's all based on you. Right? If it's an internal battle that we're fighting. And so if you create and set goals for yourself and you try to achieve those goals within yourself, then you're not worried about what things are happening around you. And it's funny because I look at in this chat, I've got about 3 high school catchers that we work with. And it's cool because all of those catchers that are in here, like you guys are challenging yourselves to get better. Like if you're looking at the other people that are in here and you're trying to get to be better than that person, well then you're never going to be satisfied, because as that person gets better, you're going to constantly chase them. But what happens when they're not there anymore, right? So it's an internal battle. And I think that if you can just make yourself better, I think that that's what's going to help you become the best that you can be and be satisfied with who you are. So if you're a guy that throws 85 and you want to throw 90, don't look at the guy who's already throwing 90, right? Right now, realistically, you're a guy that throws 85, so you got to focus to get to 90. You can't worry about that other guy. You can't worry about the guy that's more physically developed at 12 years old that's hitting 35, 40 bombs a year. You got to worry about yourself. And I think that once we focus on that internal battle with ourselves and set goals within ourselves, I think we become more happy within this game, right? I think the reason why is because then you're trying to reach your goals and limits rather than focusing on somebody else, right? Don't worry about the guy that got drafted out of high school. That's just not for you yet, right? And we talked about yet yesterday. You know what I mean? But that's not for you yet. You're going to get there if you believe it. You know what I mean? But it's not there for right now. And you just got to keep going on your path and your process, right?
Find your path, find your process, and go chase it with everything you have. There's a lot of athletes in here who are chasing their dreams, which is awesome. You're in here for a reason. Most of you are in here not because mom and dad made you come in here. You stuck along. If mom and dad made you come in here, you'd be one of the 20 or 30 who decided not to show up again or couldn't show up for some reason. And I think that's the biggest key here is, hey, you're in control of your destiny. You control every single step of it, not the coach, not your parents, not the recruiting coordinators. You control it. What are we going to do to put ourselves in the best position to succeed? Adam, what do you got for me?
Well, you all three touched on it a little bit. The perception of you that everyone else has is directly related to what your self-image is. And I know that, like, myself personally, like I always struggle with my own self-image. I struggle with my own self-confidence. And so I always try to look for ways to fix that. And I know a lot of other athletes do the exact same thing. They're trying to find ways to carry themselves better. And like the first and immediate thing that you can do to make sure that you are carrying yourself in a more confident way and then make sure other people see that is to fix your body language. Body language is something Jake and I talk about all the time. And the immediate thing that you can always do, and I'm sure your parents or teachers or coaches always said this to you, is stand up straight with your shoulders back. And I have on my screen, I have it to where I can see everybody. And just immediately when I say that, I see a lot of kids doing this and sitting up a little bit more straight. And immediately I see them looking a little bit more confident. You have to think about it that, like, when your shoulders are slumped over or when you do something bad on the field, you're hiding your vulnerabilities. You don't look confident. But when you do really well, you ever see a picture of a team or a player that's done something well and they've gone on and succeeded in something that they've worked very hard with, their chest is back, his chest is out, their shoulders are back, and they're bleeding with confidence. They have their shoulders back and their chest is out. And I think that for a lot of people that do struggle with self-image, the quickest and immediate fix is that something physical. That's something we can all do immediately. And as soon as people do that, they are perceived differently by other people. And I think that's extremely important because most of us, we talked about our roles in the last couple of days and how to maximize those things. And I think that we're all trying to find ways to position ourselves with a team or within the world in a way that we're doing something well, because that's where we feel the maximum of our self-image. And that's extremely important because and you see that from other people, you see that and it's contagious. Like when I see Ronnie or Jake or Byler, I see you guys talking. When you guys are talking well and you're speaking extemporaneously and managing that extraordinarily well, your shoulders are back, your chest is out, you are confident. And that kind of stuff is contagious. It makes me want to be a better speaker. And so, guys, that's something you can do just in the immediately. Even if you're not a confident person, even if you have a poor self-image, if you just fake it till you make it and do your chest out, shoulders back, and change your body language, that will bleed into other things to help make you mentally a stronger person. And then you'll be able to handle those situations a lot better. I gave you guys some homework a couple of days ago that said, hey, when you guys fail on the field, I want you to think about what your immediate reaction is. Because I want to know whether or not your immediate reaction is to hunch your shoulders over, hide your vulnerabilities, and try to shy away from it. Or are you trying to take those things on, show your vulnerabilities with your chest out and your shoulders back, and say, I'm going to take on the next challenge even though I just failed at that one. I think that's a very key thing when it comes to self-image, is how you carry yourself physically.
Adam, I'm so pumped that you hit on this. Now we get to go into this big time, because this is one of the biggest things at all levels, but especially like in your guys' level. And I'm going to give you an example of that in a minute, of something that happened yesterday about body language with myself. And I just put in the chat as a homework, message us on social media. You can text it, you can email us, or if your parents want to email us, but social media is the easiest for all of us. So just message us, hey, what's an example of good body language? Maybe it's a picture of like Superman going, like gorilla, like Godzilla going crazy. Or maybe it's a video on YouTube of the Little League World Series. We were watching the Little League World Series of like 2018 or something the other day with my buddy, because nothing's on TV, obviously, and we're watching body language. And what he's doing, he's a collegiate coach at the University of San Diego, and what he's doing is taking clips of a Little League game of good and bad body language. Somebody who gives up a home run and rolls his head and starts crying, and then somebody who gives up a bomb and gets back on the mound and keeps shoving at an 11, 12-year-old age. So like we can all take this no matter how young or old we are. This is huge. Here's my example of body language, and it's being vulnerable, right? Vulnerability leads to growth. And what vulnerability means is being willing to admit your mistakes and some of your flaws. When you're not that good, are you able to accept failure? And yesterday I'm doing a podcast with my buddies, and the same guy who's looking at body language on the Little League World Series texts me in the very beginning of our podcast and goes, bad body language. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I was like slumped back like this, and I was kind of far away from the screen. And he noticed that through a screen like this. And I didn't even know, I wasn't even aware of this, right? Like my consciousness, my conscious mind, like my aware mind, like I wasn't aware of this at all. But like he noticed that. So you talk about, Adam, the body language. Your teammates notice body language. The scouts notice body language. Your coaches, the other team. And so imagine if you had a team of 9 athletes running on the field, and obviously more on the bench, but 9 starters who all had like their chest up, their shoulders back, and they were confident. That's intimidating. That sprint on and off the field, that busted no matter what the outcome is. No matter if I rolled over to third base or I hit a bomb, I'm running hard. Like that is how body language can literally translate into wins. And that is in better results. We all want to chase results. Right? I'm not going to get mad at you for chasing results. It's not the best way to go about it. But at the end of the day, in baseball and in sports, we all want to have a good result. We all want to win. We all want to do well. We want to see ourselves hitting bombs and average. But guess what? We don't get there with bad body language. And we don't get there if we slump our shoulders every time we fail, because then we're living in our failures way more than we're living in our successes. I think Jake mentioned it yesterday. Live in your future. Like live in your future. So what's your future self? Not Albert Pujols or Mike Trout. What's the future me? What's the future Alexander? What's the future Tiernan? What's the future Drew and Jess? Like, what's my future self? I can be the best version of myself to make sure that I'm going to be successful, right? So there's so much that we can go into with this. Jake, I want you to get into kind of what you're teaching with your athletes over there with BAMFAM and how that's correlated to a more consistent program and more consistent results that you've seen over the last few years with all the athletes that are part of your program.
Yeah, I think the big thing that we really try to get across is the idea that in order to really maximize your self-image, the answer is in the name. It has to be a self-image. And a lot of what we find is most of our players and most people in high school and lower, even in college, what you guys have is you have an image, but it's not created by yourself. Right. So the term equity, right, means ownership. Okay. So when we look at a business, right, if you start a business and you're the only person, you own 100% of that business. But if you decide you're going to have a co-owner, then they're going to own part of it. And you decide you're going to have an investor, they're going to own part of it. And you guys do this with your self-image. So it should look, I drew it on my kid's little plate with a Sharpie. This is great. So it should look like this, where you control over 50% of your self-image, okay? And those other spots, that can be your parents and your friends and your girlfriend and society, and that can be everything else. But what happens is this. So over time, you guys end up giving so much of your self-image and your equity of your own personal success in your life to other people that at the end of the day, when you look at it, when you're trying to establish and identify what your self-image is, it ends up being 30% of what mom and dad say, and 25% of what your friends say, and 20% of what society says, and 15% of social media. And next thing you know, you personally are only in control of 15 to 20% of your self-image and your success and your goals. So step one in developing a self-image is taking back equity, control, and really that ownership right of your life. And when you do that, you start to figure out like who in your life is actually promoting and helping you and investing in where you want to go, right? I tell people all the time, if you want to figure out who you should surround yourself with, run your race towards the goal that you want to get and look to your sides and see who's running that similar race. And those are the people you surround yourself with, because they're going to be the ones that are going to push you and challenge you in the ways that you want. But the moment that you surround yourself with people that are going to bring you down and people that are investing into you the negatives that you don't want for your life, those things go to your heart, and those things start to take equity away from who you're trying to become, right? So step one is really, who are you? Figure that out, like away from the game. If baseball or softball is taken away from you, that should not change who you are individually as a person. So what's your self-image away from the game? And that should be the same self-image in the game. It's just relating to baseball now. Okay, so that's really step one of what we try to teach, is get our players to understand and own the fact that their thoughts, their words, their actions, their habits, their legacy, everything that they have, they're the only one that gets to choose what that is. So you are the only person responsible for your thoughts and your actions, right? So we need to learn how to value our goals over our excuses, and we need to learn how to value dedication over motivation, right? Because it's easy for you to work when you're motivated, right? We all have days we wake up and we're like, all right, this is going to be great. We're motivated to do it. But it's also easy to lose motivation in the midst of a quarantine when training isn't easy and you don't have games and you don't know when you get to play again. So the athletes who are going to come out of this the strongest are the ones that know in their mind, I am great, right? I am confident. I am successful. I am a Division I baseball player, whatever that goal is for you, because that's going to drive the way that you work when you're not motivated, right? Motivation's great, but you need to be dedicated even when you're unmotivated to work. Otherwise, the work doesn't get done. Okay. And I tell people this all the time. I'm a dad. I have 2 kids. They're awesome. They're 5 and 3. But the reality is when they wake up in the middle of the night and someone's got to get up to go and put them back to bed, I'm not motivated to do that. I'm motivated to lay my butt in my bed and sleep, right? But someone's got to do it. So that's where you have to be dedicated in your work and everything that you're doing. I think like those are 2 big concepts that are really, really important to grasp for you to understand how to truly maximize what that image is for you.
Love that. I absolutely love that, Jake. You mentioned so many good points, and I wrote down a couple notes of like step 1, step 2. I love the plate that you put up there of just myself over like the other half of everything else in my life,
Yep.
social media, my friends, comparison, other teams. And then the second one, that's powerful. The visuals are powerful for me when I see a visual. So if
Yep.
you're taking notes, draw a circle, right? Draw just a little circle and put a line through it halfway through. And on the top, put myself, and on the bottom, put everything else in my life, an arrow, like everything else. So it could be social media, it could be my video games, it could be my parents, it could be coaches, it could be my dogs or nature. And then to the right, draw another circle and draw like 4 or 5 different little smaller squares and put yourself or myself, parents, teacher, coach, school, social media, and everything else that could take the emotions, take my emotions and take the energy from me. To reiterate that, and then we'll move on to Ronnie, I just wanted to put down the 2 steps, dude. Like step 1, take ownership of your life. Ownership of my career. Who am I? Take ownership. So first and foremost, take ownership. Number 2, surround yourself with champions. Like, I don't know about you, but I feel way better when I have Adam, Ronnie, and Jake in here by my side than when it's just me going into battle. And by battle, I mean like going into like speaking to somebody or a team. So I'm like, man, I got champions. I don't have to talk for 60 minutes. I can go for 5 and then give it off to them, and they can absolutely crush it. And we're going to help each other get better because I got a page of notes in the first 15 minutes of people who I don't have to be taking notes from. I mean, look at it. We don't have to take notes, but we all want to get better, including you athletes. Everybody wants to get better in here. So that's huge. Number 1, take ownership of my life. What does that mean? Who am I? Ask yourself, who am I? Number 2, surround yourself with champions. We know who the champions are. We know who the athletes on our team who maybe aren't as invested and they're maybe not as bought into our career as we are to our career. The more we hang out with them, the further down the funnel we go. The more we hang out with the champions, the further up we go, the closer we get to our dreams. Sound good? Ronnie, take it away, my man.
Yeah, just to elaborate on that, like the circle, and I've learned this the hard way, is the circle's small. I mean, the circle to being great is not very big. I want you guys to really understand that and know that there are going to be a lot of people that you've invested a lot of time with on the way that are not going to have the same dreams and goals and visions as you. And those people, unfortunately, have to be left behind. You know, and that's the one thing that I'm learning through business and through life is that, you know, your circle gets smaller and smaller and smaller with the people that want to be on the same vision and goals that you have. And that's okay. You guys have to realize that that's okay. You know, I remember, and I know this is definitely how it is with a lot of middle school and high school kids. Everybody wants that popularity. Everybody wants to be the cool dude that's walking around. But, you know, that may not be the greatest thing for you guys. You know, greatness doesn't happen by making a lot of those decisions. And so for a lot of you, the one thing I've learned, and I take this to heart, and I think this is the reason why this whole thing happened with us, is we're taking great people and we're trying to put all of our thoughts and minds together for one bigger cause and purpose. And that's why we all came together. And so you guys have to understand that once you find people that have the same vision and goals with you, it's not going to be very many of them. And you run with those people because they're going to make you better, right? That's my biggest takeaway is the circle is going to be tiny, and that's okay, right? I want you guys to really take that home.
How big's my circle, baby? I'm writing that down. How big's my circle, Ronnie? I don't know. Sometimes it gets smaller. Sometimes it gets bigger. But guess what? If you try and please everybody, you're never going to please anybody. So that's it. Adam, take it away, my man. Close it out.
Yeah, I'll expound on that a little bit as well. Like the circle idea of like what you have within that and what you have to leave out of that or remove that can be some of the hardest decisions you'll have to make. There are a couple guys that I used to hang out with in high school that I spent probably outside of school alone, probably 20 hours a week hanging out with. And I have not seen those guys in years, mainly because of I didn't agree with some of the decisions that they were making. I didn't see how they were going to benefit my life. And I realized that if I want to actually get to the point that I want to be, I have to remove those negative impacts. And it's a very, very hard decision, guys. And it's hopefully ones that I hope you don't have to make. I hope you guys at an 8U or 9U level are already best friends with the people that you're going to be really good friends with the rest of your life. You're all going to have these same big dreams, the same goals. But you're going to have to make decisions throughout your entire life, whether it's people, whether or not it's habits, whether or not it's just actions, or whether or not it's just as simple as telling the truth on a regular basis of whether or not you are going to allow certain negative things within your circle. Your circle is going to seem like it's going to keep getting bigger, but you have to keep it as tight as you possibly can to make sure that it's as focused on you as it possibly can. I know it sounds weird to sound that kind of selfish sometimes, but everything we're talking about with this self-image, it starts with you and then it ends with others. Others people's perception of you has an effect of what you think about yourself. But if you can still learn to separate that at some point, you're going to benefit from that. Like, I love my parents more than almost anything in the world, right? But at 30 years old, I have to make decisions sometimes that I won't necessarily think my parents would agree with, because I know that sooner or later that power dynamic is going to shift and it's going to lean towards me as opposed them as it leaning towards them. So you'll have to make decisions for yourself throughout life. You'll have to bring people in that want to support you within those decisions, but also get people out of your life or things out of your life that are going to do all that work for you, or are going to put all the work on you. You have to work with a collective group of people that are going to help build that self-image, but also while noticing that you are the one at the center of that circle and you control everything else that surrounds it.
This is huge, man. This is great info. And just to dumb it down and recap of what everybody in here has said, just, hey, be aware of who you're surrounding yourself and who you allow in your life and who you allow to take energy from you, because at the end of the day, we all have these same thoughts. We all have thousands of thoughts every single day that are running through our head. And a lot of them are the same exact thoughts. I'm not good enough. I don't belong at the next level. This guy is way bigger than me, or this girl throws way harder than me, or she's way prettier than me, or he's way more popular than me. All these other thoughts that we start to give attention to, then they become real. But if we never give the thought the attention, it doesn't become real. So yes, we have these thoughts. We've got to acknowledge the thoughts. I think we talked about it yesterday. Acknowledge the thoughts, acknowledge the things that trip us up, identify the signals that trip us up. But just because you have that thought doesn't mean it's always real. I'm not good enough. Is that real? I just hit 45 bombs in practice yesterday. I think I'm pretty good. But I get that thought when I get opening day because I'm a little nervous because there's a lot more people in the stands and there's an umpire who's really bad. And I'm a little tired because I didn't sleep good because I was super nervous. So just understanding that our thoughts are very, very powerful. And this goes for anything. It goes for your math test. I don't think I'm going to do well on this test. Well, I'm probably not going to do well on the test if I keep believing that thought. But you have the choice. If you're taking notes, write down, I have the choice to believe my own thoughts. Put it in caps. Put it on your door when you leave the house. I have the choice to believe my own thoughts. Very simple, very easy to do, but it's actually extremely challenging at the end of the day because we look at it and we're like, I don't know. I don't know if I believe this, right? I don't know if I believe that thought. But you have the choice every single day to believe or to not believe the thoughts that go to your mind. So I just wanted to add that in there because everything that we've said is amazing. And I think just putting it in a simple term for you to understand this, to be able to apply this, like that's our goal. We want to allow you to apply this and use this to your advantage. We don't want to just talk to you for an hour and send you on your way. We want you to be able to use this like big time. We really want you to. And I truly mean that. And the more that we can just apply this and write this down, we can go back and look at it and understand that I don't have to accept my own thoughts. I don't have to accept the label that somebody puts on me. I don't have to accept the circumstances that I'm dealt, meaning the things that are going on around me, this virus, no baseball, no tea at my house. Guess what? Find a better way. Find a better way. Do some push-ups. Go on YouTube. Ask us. Find a better way to still get some work in, to still get one step closer to your dream. And surround yourself with champions. I love surrounding yourself with champions. So now on my list, and I'm going to go back into you, Jake, to kind of take us on the final third of this is, number one, take ownership of your career. Who am I? Number two, surround yourself with champions. I love the word champions. It sounds so cool. Surround yourself with champions. We all want to be champions one day. We all want to wear a cool ring and not just a participation trophy, but a cool ring and a cool, like massive College World Series champion or high school championship. How do we do that? We surround ourselves with champions. And then three, step into the unknown. Jake said it yesterday, live in your future. Don't be afraid to step into the unknown. It's a little scary when you have to get rid of a friend because they're really annoying and they are distracting you from everything you're trying to do. Or maybe some of you high school athletes, you have some friends who are making really poor choices off the field, who are going out and drinking, who are going out and doing drugs, or they're smoking, or whatever they're doing. They're doing something that's not serving them. It's not helping them get to where they want to go. and you love them because you're a good person and you love people and you want to be around your friends and you've known them since you were 6 years old and you played t-ball and little league and traveled together, but they're not helping you get to where you want to go. Every time you're around that person, for some reason, you just don't feel good. It's really, really tough to get rid of those people in your life. But I'll tell you what, like what Adam said, the more you can get rid of them and get around people that are going to help you get better, whether they're popular or not, that stuff doesn't matter in the long run at all. It is, and we'll acknowledge it is at your age. It's very important to a lot of kids. Like, we all want to feel important. But if you can find a close group of people that are around you that make you feel important, that's the most important thing. That's the most important thing. So 1, take ownership of your career. Number 2, surround yourself with champions. Let's win a championship this summer. Let's do something cool. Let's celebrate. Let's dogpile. Let's give some knucks and high fives. And then 3, step into the unknown. Don't be afraid to step into the unknown. It's very scary. We don't want to jump off the cliff with no net. But guess what? Sometimes you've got to jump off that cliff to get one step closer to where you want to go. That's what I've got for you. Jake, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's huge. And going off of the step into the unknown, I think it's important to recognize that your limits begin where your vision ends.
Oh.
So if you have a very small vision for your life and you don't think that you can be successful, that's the limit that you're setting for yourself. If you set a limit that you're going to go pro and you're going to do great things, you're going to impact the world, you're going to impact the youth and generations of baseball or whatever that is, then that's your limit, right? So we want to make sure that our vision is super big. We want a huge vision for ourselves and our lives, because that gives you room to step into that and to grow into that and to continue to build as a person. I think one of the hardest things in doing that we really don't talk about a whole lot is a lot of times we get nervous to do that because we feel uncomfortable as we pass by other people, right? Because you don't want to leave people behind, and that's difficult. You have friends that Austin was just talking about that might be doing things that you're choosing not to. And it's not as easy as just telling them to peace out, because there's a relationship there and you're invested in that. So one thing I want to tell you guys is you do not have to ever apologize for greatness. You don't have to apologize for having great standards for yourself. You don't have to apologize for having a great work ethic. Other people might try to put you down for that, but you owe 0 people in this world an apology for the standards that you set for your own life, right? A lot of times we feel like we need to do that. And a lot of times when we're surrounded by people that might not have those same standards, we lower our own level to match theirs rather than challenging them to raise their level to match ours. Okay, one of my favorite quotes is by Nelson Mandela. You guys would probably know it more from the movie Coach Carter. You might have seen that. They used it in that. But he said, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. And as you allow your own light to shine, you unconsciously give others permission to do the same. So that's a lot. I love that. But as you decide to live by a high standard, you decide to set these big goals, this big vision for your life, you naturally motivate other people to do the same in theirs. So you're making an impact in people's lives. And even if they don't want to fall into that and they don't want to step up to that, they see what you're doing, because if they didn't notice, they wouldn't say anything and you wouldn't feel uncomfortable, right? So don't apologize for your greatness. Don't feel like your standards are too high for yourself. There's no such thing. Whatever you believe is your vision and where you can go, you stick to that, right? Value other people's opinions, but if it's not somebody that you would take advice from, then why are you going to take critique from them, right? I mean, it's a really simple thing. If they're not somebody that you invest in enough to take advice, then we shouldn't even be listening to their critique. That shouldn't matter either.
Okay.
That's a really good point. That's a really, really good point. Of if there's somebody that I wouldn't take advice from, I'm just going to reiterate it, 'cause sometimes we got to hear it 25 times. If you're not going to take advice from them, then why would I take critique from them? Why not? If you believe in that person, a lot of you are in here because you believe in one of the people leading this. You believe in Jake, or you believe in myself, or Ronnie, or Adam, because you've been around them, you've trusted them, you built that relationship, you believe in them. And so now there's an impact being made. So if you can believe in somebody that you truly care about, like, that's huge. Like, surround yourself with people you can care about and love on, and spread that love, man. Like, love's a cheesy word, especially when we're at a young age. It's hard to admit it, but I love it, man. I did a podcast or released a podcast today with one of the coaches out here on the West Coast, and it was called Leading with Love. The first thing he said is, you know why, I love, you know why we've been successful is because it wasn't even he's talking about himself, but just their program and the kids after is that he leads with love. He shows them love. Like he's like, I care about my guys. I tell them every day that I love them because I truly do. I really love my teammates. I really love my athletes. I love my coaches that are with me. And it hit home because if you lead with love, anything is possible. Ronnie, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was actually, it's funny, I was just having this conversation earlier with my sister. And I said, for somebody to believe in what you're doing, you have to believe it first.
Ooh.
And so for you guys, and that was probably the best advice I could ever give her was, you know, if you believe in what you're doing, then it's easy for other people to jump on that same train and jump on board with you. You know what I mean? And so when I'm having a conversation with anybody about it, you know, you want to be the best catcher in the country. You want to be the best pitcher in the country. Perfect. Well, you need to believe that yourself. And if I see that your work ethic or the things that you're doing or the way that you're acting doesn't apply to that and isn't going to get you to those dreams and goals, well, then I'm not going to buy into it. I'm not going to buy into what you're saying because your actions are showing something different. You know, and the one thing that I love that we talk about this, like I believe, like I know for Hot Corner, for Dugout Coalition, like we believe that this is huge. We believe it. When you hear us talk about it, we're passionate. You know, we truly trust in what we're doing. So it's easy for other people to jump on board with that because we truly trust it. And so when you're having a conversation with yourself or you're having a conversation with one of your teammates, they need to feel your passion. They need to feel your belief in yourself and what you're doing because it's easier for them to jump on board with you. You know what I mean? And so your circle is going to get small because, and that's what I said before, because the people that believe in you know that you're authentic and true to what you're saying. And I think that's the biggest thing is you have to believe in what you're saying for yourself. And that's going to go so much further than just baseball. And I want you guys to understand that is once you believe in yourself and you're passionate about that, then people will jump on board with you.
That's huge, Ronnie. That's huge. Just talking about that. If you can, just please mute your mics if you guys aren't talking on there, just so we can just so we can all concentrate and have clearness. But I want to read off, Ronnie, a couple of things. But one, I wrote down, does your belief translate into others? I really like that. I really, really like that. You can see the belief in your head coach if they really care. Like if they really care about you and they know that you're going to win, they're going to totally buy in and you're going to believe in them. So now that translation, like his energy or her energy translated into my energy, which now translates into more wins and more results. It's crazy how that works. But I'm going to read off a couple of the messages I got here, just a couple of them. Dylan says, you are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. Hashtag wisdom nugget. I know, Easton, I know you wanted the wisdom nugget of the day. So you got to hit me with some more fuego because that might be the leader for the hashtag wisdom nugget of the day. Wow. Luke out of Washington. This dude's a stud. And I'm going to give you a little background on Luke in a minute, but bigger vision plus belief in your vision equals bigger reality. I like that. If you got a big vision, you got a big belief, man, you got a big reality. It all works together. But Luke took initiative. He's 16 years old. He's got a group of his teammates. And once a week, he's hosting Zoom calls for his teammates to keep them accountable. That's leadership. That is leadership to the T. He is hosting Zoom calls with his teammates and having guest speakers on, coaches, etc., join their groups. And Luke, if you need more, we've got 3 other ones in here between Adam, Jake, and Ronnie that would love to probably speak to your squad and your boys. But that's leadership, organizing that on his own. Nobody told him to do that. He said, I'm going to take ownership. And by the way, he's doing the 30-day challenge that we've got going on. He's crushing it every day, posting something new, a workout, a lift, some sort of hitting, some sort of positivity. It's awesome to see. So Luke, keep it up, dude. And then Johnny, where's Johnny's at? I got to go back. Take ownership in your career. Your actions control yourself or themselves. I love it. Like your actions control everything, right? What I do every single day is going to control me, is going to control how I respond and how I act in failure. Adam, take it away.
So I just kind of wrap up my thoughts on it and everything and go off of what Ronnie said about what people believe as far as what you're portraying. And like going forward, like we talked a lot about the importance of self-image. And there's 2 different types of self-image. There's a positive self-image and a negative self-image. And your self-image is going to be one of the most dramatic determining factors of what you do in your life. So as we go forward and as we leave this and you guys hopefully reflect on everything we've talked about, I want you to think about, especially since most of you guys are very young, think about how you're going to start constructing your self-image and constructing it in the most positive light possible. Luckily, all four of us have found something that we absolutely love, and we've been able to put ourselves into that and give ourselves that sense of meaning and be able to have the best self-image that we possibly can and continue to work on that and use each other to do that. And one way that we've gotten to that, and one of the tools that I want you guys to use going forward as you develop your self-image, is to try to find the values that you find that are the most important. So Ronnie talked about when he talks to players sometimes and they say they want to be the best catcher in the world, but like sometimes they'll look at him and they'll say that, but he doesn't believe him based on the way that they're saying it, based on the way that they're acting. You have to speak the things that you truly believe and speak the values that are closest to your heart in order for your best, most positive self-image to portray to other people. So for myself, for instance, I make sure that I'm trying to tell the truth as much as I possibly can. I think it's a big one, because if you're not telling the truth, then you are living a lot of falseness in your life, and that ends up being spread into a lot of different parts of your self-image. I try to surround myself with wonderful, positive people that have the same values that I have, and I try to treat people as well as I possibly can and surround myself with people that do that exact same thing. And then that's where I start limiting out the people that aren't there. And having those people within my circle helps me build my own personal self-image. And I've known Jake for a long time. Jake knows that I don't have a ton of self-confidence, and he keeps me in check on that. And I keep him on check on stuff as well. So surround your people that are going to look for the same type of positive self-image you have. Figure out what values are most important to yourself and try to get that positive self-image, because the only other way is negative self-image. And having one of those two will determine the drastic directions that you're going to go into your life. So think about what your self-image as a young age and start developing that by the things that are most important to you, and surround yourself with people that agree with you on those things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Is somebody want to pop in? Was that you, Jake?
No, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, no, just as we wrap up, I think that's great, Adam. Just like who are you going to surround yourself with, right? Like it's a really hard thing to do. We don't want to make this sound easy, because none of this is easy, but we want to make it sound
hard.
It's so hard, man. Like I remember putting myself in your shoes, and there was a time in Cooperstown, I was 12 years old, and I was going in the home run derby, and there was this kid on our team who was really good. This dude was nasty. He had the old red Stealths, and probably none of us know what that is except for the older guys in here. But the red Stealth was one of the biggest bomber bats. When I was at the Power Showcase with like Cade and Jess and a few of these other ones in here, we talked about hashtag dingers and taters. Like that was our hashtag for that. It was dingers and taters, baby. We're hitting bombs. But guess what? That's what we're doing with that red Stealth. That's what it felt like. And I remember just going through this instance, and we were in Cooperstown, and this guy on the team, he was so talented. He was so good. And at 12 years old, he didn't carry himself very well. He had very bad emotions. He was very negative. He kept like talking trash to us and the other teams. And I just didn't like being around him. And ironically, the next year he quit and he stopped playing baseball because it was too much for him. But it goes back to show you how your teammates can either encourage you and bring you up, or they can take away from your energy and bring you down if you give them the energy. And we were in the home run derby together, so I had to be around him. I didn't want to be around him, but I had to. We were in the bunkers. For those of you who've been to Cooperstown, it's the best experience ever. And the ones who haven't yet, you're going to love it. And if you need to, hopefully we're going to be in a position where we can sponsor teams to go to Cooperstown, because that is an experience that you have to experience. As a coach, a player, I don't care, a parent, if you're listening in the background to your child here, take them to Cooperstown. Go to the Hall of Fame. It's incredible. Buy a hat. Do something cool. And go to the ice cream shop across the place. It's really good. But yeah, so just to wrap up, guys, like understanding like how we see ourselves is our choice. It's our choice to see, to recognize how we see ourselves at every day. But it's really, really hard to do sometimes, because we want to believe what other people say about us, or somebody plants a seed and we start to believe it. But just like we talked about in the beginning, right? Your thoughts, they're going to be coming to your head. They're going to be natural. But guess what? We don't have to give the attention to our thoughts. Once we give them the emotion, they become real. Just like our goals, how we talked yesterday, you attach emotion to our goal, it becomes real. Just like that, same thing with the thought. If we attach that emotion to a thought, it starts to become real. And now we start to believe it. You don't have to believe your own thoughts. You don't. Trust me, you don't have to believe what's going on around you. But what you do need to believe is in yourself. in who you are as a person, as a player, as an athlete, as a friend, as a son, as a daughter, as a colleague, as a leader. This is the next group of leaders. Imagine this. Think about the pyramid. I wish I had something to show you. I'll show you like this. Think about the pyramid of success, right? So here's, say, me, Ronnie, and Jake and Adam, right? So here's like 4 people up here. We decided to do the Dugout Coalition to inspire more people, right? So now we've got right now 150 people in here. Imagine all of us here, 151 or 152, and each one of us goes and inspires one more person each day. And that person inspires one more person. And that person inspires one more person. Look where this web is going. The 150 goes to like 300 in a second, which goes to like 800. And I don't even know the math after that. It's in thousands, right? Imagine how many people we can impact. If you just tell a friend and say, hey, this is what I learned. They don't have to come here, but this is what I learned. Think about this. You don't have to believe your thoughts, but you do have to believe in yourself. Boom. Maybe that changes their life. Maybe somebody on your team's struggling with this experience right now, or maybe you are. But if you believe in yourself, good things are going to happen. And if we got a couple of minutes, if anyone wants to wrap up any closing thoughts, if not, great job.
I think you said a great thing that we're going to get into tomorrow, which is how you can utilize your own energy to affect other people and how other people's energy affects you. Tomorrow is all about in that individual day, how to win the day, how to improve in that day to create long-term success over time. So we're going to talk through energy. We're going to talk through how to give and receive energy and what that looks like on a day-to-day basis. We do have one other announcement that I wrote down in big letters in front of me so I wouldn't forget it at the beginning. On Fridays, y'all, I know nobody gets to wear their uniforms and nobody gets to play games. So we're rocking full uni Fridays in here. That means tomorrow when you log into the Zoom call, we should be in full unis, ready to roll. Show off your best digs. Let's do it. It's going to look awesome in here. So full uni Fridays. Yeah, winner gets a shout out for sure. You better rock some good unis. I'm excited for it. It'll be awesome.
Love it.
If you wear eye black, you are automatically in the top 5 for winning.
Yes, throw it on.
Eye black. And if you go wrist tape, the fake chow is real. I'm all in for the fake chow. Stirrups,
1980
chow stirrups, all the Evo shields, all the protective gear in the world. Wear it all, man.
And if you don't have any jerseys or gear, but you have an extra jersey, like Tyler just messaged me on here. I have an MLB jersey. Wear your MLB jersey.
Cool.
Wear your favorite team. I don't care what it is. Look cool. Wear a wristband. We don't care. That'd be
umpire
awesome.
Gear.
Yeah,
there you go. There you go. You're gonna get razzed the entire hour. Your umpire gear.
Drew asked cleats. You gotta ask mom and dad about that.
Yeah, mom and dad.
Maybe not cleats in the house.
Maybe turfs. Turfs would do. But.
Turfs are good. Turfs are good. We're pumped.
All right.
Appreciate you guys. Have a great day. We'll see y'all back here tomorrow. Remember, continue to believe in yourself. Continue to go over these notes and continue to encourage your buddies to come in here as well. Good job, fellas.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Thank you.
Bye. I have a text.